Caitlin, I'm going to go over your draft, captured. You did an excellent job creating conflict in this story. You didn't resolve it, but that's okay. It's a draft, it's a work in progress, but very good job creating conflict. I'm going to go through and we're going to correct your mechanical errors, and I'm going to use the review mode and track my changes, and then I'm going to send this back to you with the marks on it. And after I make a change, it's going to change the color. So I think you meant brutally. And then when you get it back, you'll be able to see this. I'll send it back to you, and I'll send it back just marked. And you can take that change and you can decide to accept the change. And if you accept it, it turns it right back into black. Or if it's not what you want to do, you can reject the change and make the change you want. Some of these are maybe story changes. I'm not sure where you're going with it. Okay, let's strong hands. I'm thinking this is grasped, her wrist, dragging her away, and I'm guessing this is supposed to be from. She yelled out, "I love yous," and empty promises that she could not fulfill. That's a very powerful beginning, and it makes you want to keep reading because you want to find out maybe what the empty promises she could not fulfill are, and also you want to know what's happening to her, because here she's being torn away from her mother and father and dragged, and we don't know what's happened, so we have to keep reading. Very good beginning. She was boarded on a large ornate ship. It's that would be it is. Its masts were broken. Then right here, a skull and crossbone flag fluttered in the wind, showing it was a pirate ship. You don't need a comma here. We are going. I think you want to do were. Were is the helping verb, and we are is a contraction. So when you put in that we are, that were with the contraction, always see if you could say we are. So it would be they, we are, and that doesn't make sense, so you know it's the other were. They were going England from Africa. They were going to England from Africa, and where they had previously lived. And that's a fragment. The best way to fix that is let's just let that be a clause here at the end, which means we'll have to make that lowercase, where they had lived previously. And I didn't put a comma in there. You can put a comma or not. It depends on how essential the clause is. If the clause is essential to your story, do not put a comma. If the clause is just added information for the reader and they could get that information some other way and you're just kind of reminding them, you can put a comma. Okay, let's go down. The date here, I know when you say it, it's August 10th, but just say August 10th, comma, 1543, and a comma after the date. She decided the date would be August 10th, 1543, then she would see her home. I need a space here. A few days later, they would have, and see, always say would have, make sure that the contraction's right, arrived. A few days after they would have arrived, she would have turned 18, a proper age. And so here you're kind of restating and kind of giving some, I don't know, a proper age. It's, I don't know, kind of like to that character. And so what we like to do here is you go up to the insert and we'll use an em dash. An em dash is like a comma, but it's used a little bit differently than a comma, and I always use it when these are appositives and kind of a tack on. So 18, but it's a proper age. And we don't want it to not be there because that kind of clues you into a characteristic of the character, a proper age. The age a girl becomes a woman, but no more. And you have a but here, which is the opposite. And we are not going to put a comma, but no more. And actually you could put a comma because it's a contrast. It's just short, so I'm wanting to leave that comma off. And I liked this one where you said it was August 7th today and they were so close. That just keeps the suspense going. They were so close. Here she's been dragged off and they're so close to home. What would become of this looks, when this is underlined, you can right click on it and get the correct spelling. Possibilities floated through her head. She pressed the thoughts away and focused, let's do, on the situation at hand. Here we have a comma splice. He held her gaze for a few seconds. Venom could be seen in his eyes. And anytime you're wanting to put a comma because they're closely related, let's use that semicolon. Semicolon's the same as a period, but it kind of makes the sentences seem to be closer together. And this would be ordered. And here we have this again. Listen here. We were, and this would actually say we are. So you're wanting the other kind of were. You're wanting the helping verb. We were kind enough, or the linking verb there. Listen here. We were kind enough to take you on this stinking boat and to give you a salary. Now work for it. Here again, you're wanting this to be a comma, but it's really two sentences. So you can put a semicolon. He growled and turned around to, I'm thinking you want to say stomp, but I'm not sure. He had a straight nose and a nice jaw, though his face still showed a ruddy boyness. Okay. And again, those are two sentences. So if you're wanting a comma there, let's go ahead and use a semicolon. And that lets the reader know it's two complete thoughts. She guessed him to be about 19. And we don't want to use too many semicolons in a row, so let's go ahead and just divide that out because you have two sentences here. He definitely, right click and you can get the right spelling. He definitely looked too nice to be about a ship such as this. Then down a little bit. I'm looking for, he quickly looked at her as if he was sorry and wanted to help her. That's a complete thought. She guessed he then remembered his job, for his stone expression returned. And you don't need a comma there. Because his stone expression returned. We use the when we're using. See, this is like a www.asia, in that it's after your main sentence, so we don't need a comma there. He tied the rope in a knot. That's a homonym. That's the kind of knot he tied it in. I'm sorry, I didn't want to tie you up. That's a sentence. Gosh. And when we have a word like gosh, well, yes, we put a comma at the end of it. Gosh, I don't even want to be here. But if I want to live, I have to work, so I can't do anything about it. And then you have this interrupted speech, which is fine, but let's just go ahead and lowercase it. Except, well, if you need anything, tell me. Period. I will get it for you. Those are two separate thoughts. He said with a smile. She didn't smile. She didn't want to smile. Okay, we've got two sentences. Let's use a semicolon that time. Semicolon, period. When I proof for authors, I kind of do the semicolon one time and the period one time. She didn't smile. She didn't want to smile. And here you have three short sentences together, and they're pretty powerful. And I don't remember if we talked about the very short sentences. Very short sentences can be powerful in creating an effect. She didn't smile. She didn't want to smile. She was mad. And here, she was mad. She was mad at everything. Now let's go ahead and make that an M dash. At everything, at life, at, get rid of this comma, at God, at her parents, at this boy she didn't know. And see here, this M dash separates, we've got a series. And let's go ahead and put and here. And if we put too many commas, we wouldn't be able to distinguish the two sets of commas that would have been in here. She was mad at everything. I'm going to actually change this. So I'm going to reject that change. And I'm going to put my M dash here instead. She was mad at everything. And everything, see, these are positives. Everything is at life, at God, at her parents, and at this boy she didn't know. But we do need to get rid of that comma. He sighed, shrugged, then stood up. And that's a series. And we could put, if it makes it a little clearer to you, he sighed, shrugged, and then stood up. She awoke to an aching, and I'm guessing she had an aching back. She said and closed her eyes. She tried to wiggle free, but that only resulted in raw wrists. She said and closed her eyes. So let's just say she closed her eyes because we don't have a quote. Now if you want to put that in a quote, put it in a quote, and you can leave the she said in. A hand shook. Is that how you spell shook? Shook her out of her fitful dream. Her eyes shot open. So we've got two sentences there. That's a comma splice. So let's use a semicolon there. It was dark outside, but subtle hints of pink and orange could be seen at the horizon. Dawn was coming. Let's do another semicolon. We've got two sentences again. Drink it, a voice hissed. It's tea. And here you have a split quotation. And I think the best way to fix this, because you've put this exclamation point here, let's just go ahead and end that. And then we'll start our next quote with a capital. And that's okay. This is just a quotation without a tag, which is perfectly fine to do. But if we wanted to create that split quote, we would have had to put a comma here, and you're wanting him to say it with emphasis, so I think that's the best way to fix that. He placed, and I think this is supposed to go up here. I can't get it to go up there. Let's see if I can move it this way. Yeah, and then that's going to have to be lowercase. He placed a hand on her shoulder and pushed her back. Listen, you ungrateful. I'm going to right click and it gives me the correct spelling of grateful. But hey, okay, Anytime we have hey, gosh, anything like that, we put commas around it because we could pull it out and the sentence would still make sense. If you don't want help, fine by me. Now we need to start a new sentence. Now I won't have to risk my neck to help a stupid girl. And then we've got a new sentence. She could hear him stand up and begin walking away. Okay, please don't go. I'm just upset. Okay, you could do this one a couple ways. If this is kind of halted speech, you could do the ... showing that she's changing what she's saying. It's halted speech. Or you could put a period, or you could put a semicolon. And here we have this you're again. I mean you, we are the one. So I know that you're wanting to use the homonym. I mean you were, and you can see that's your verb in there. So let's put a comma. And here you have a split quote, and because this is just a so, it's not a so with an exclamation point, you can do it this way. He started, and then when you have a split quote, you do not put a capital for the quote that starts after the dialogue tag. So he started. Does this mean you will take the tea and accept my help? Footsteps pounded on the wooden board, but then stopped at where she was. Okay, we're going to have to get rid of this because this is a compound verb, and compound parts do not get commas because we have footsteps pounded, and then we have a prepositional phrase on the wooden boards. Footsteps then stopped, so we're using the same subject noun, and we have two verbs. There's not another subject noun for this stopped, so we can't have a comma between them. That's a compound verb, no comma. And you have she drunk. This would be she drank. If you wanted to use drunk, you need to put a had or has or had in there, and that's how you will get to that tense. Wait, and right here, lowercase, because our dialogue tags are lowercase. She said. Impatient, let's right click it, and we've got the right spelling now. Well, that's a very nice name. Let's put a comma. He said, because when we do a direct address, we set it off with commas. He said in almost insulting manner. She scowled. Well, now, what of you? And here, this is the same character, so we need this up here. Oh, I can see. Well, we might could fix this by saying she scowled and then said, and then asked. Well, now, what of you? What is your name? And that way that kind of helps that flow, but because we changed characters, we also need that to be indented. Eric, he said, starting to walk away from the hull of the ship. Wait, Eric, what? She called out to him. He paused, and it's underlined in red, so let's right click on it and we'll get the correct pause, and then answered just Eric. Very good. Very good job creating conflict. You haven't created a resolution. But in this case, this is our one picture narrative. I'm not going to have you create a resolution. You've done a good job on this. I probably will send this out for peer review so you can get some response from some of the other students. And they may say that there is no resolution. If you want to work on a resolution, that would be helpful. I guess I feel like if you continue on the story, the resolution's not going to come fast. And if you want to continue this story and keep working on this for your 3-picture narrative, that is okay with me, because we're going to be writing a 3-picture narrative, which is going to have at least 3 chapters. So if you want to continue this story, we could do that, and that way it will give you time to get that resolution going. And you've got a great story going here. I'm going to leave that up to you, and you let me know if you want to continue the story for, it'll probably be another 10 pages. You've got this one scene going for 5 pages. I think it would be easy to get the story going further, but you'll have to figure out your resolution. I also didn't get your pre-writing, so you jumped ahead and did the narrative. I can see that you used the picture of the ship. Well, it was a boat at the dock, and oh, I see another. Sorry, let's right click it. Oh, missed it. And I can see that you answered the questions, because you told me what happened before. They had been in Africa, they were going to England. So I can tell you answered all the questions. And you did a great job on creating suspense and creating conflict. And actually, I kind of want you to finish the story, because I want to know what happened next. But I will leave that up to you. Send it back to me with these changes. You can go through when you get it back and review and reject. And if you want to work on a resolution, I just don't know how you can do it quickly unless they get rescued. Maybe a ship overtakes them and they get rescued when she looks out in the dawn, because right here that was the dawn was coming. And then maybe you could go ahead and say and she squinted out into the dawn, and in the break of day she saw the mast of another ship. But then that would create a whole boat battle or whatever. But you might want to think about continuing it along those lines for the next narrative. So the next narrative is going to be long. I think you have the idea. I can tell you can create conflict. I can tell you can create these characters. You've moved your story along. It makes me want to know what's happening next. So you're doing a good job on all of that. So clean it up, send it back to me, and let me know if you want to continue this story or if you want a new set of pictures. That's the end of the video.